Welcome to the Oakles channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's see if Dark Souls Remastered is any better on the Nintendo Switch 2 versus Nintendo Switch 1. Now, when you put it into your system, you do get a little bit of a patch here, so we assume something is different in the game itself, besides just simply running on the Switch 2. And we're going to do a screen-by-screen comparison between the Switch 2 and the Switch 1. Switch 2 will always be on the left side, 1 will be on the right side. We're going to see what is different in this game. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is when you load the menu up and you launch the software itself, there's going to be roughly a 7-second difference in the load time between the Switch 2 and the Switch 1. Obviously, it loads a lot faster on Switch 2. It's more powerful hardware. That's to be expected. And I would predict it's probably the same for pretty much every Switch 1 game run on the Switch 2. The initial loading up itself is probably going to be more focused on the menu and the Switch engine itself versus the game. But regardless, it's 7 seconds faster on the Switch 2. Now from here, I journey into the character creation, and we pretty much look at every character class: the warriors, the knights, the wanderer, the thief, the bandit, the hunter, the sorcerer, the pyromancer, the cleric, the deprived. They all look pretty much exactly the same. I can't tell any smoothing of features or higher resolution. It literally looks exactly the same between the two systems. You can comment down below if I'm a little bit wrong on that. Same thing for when you click your as far as face shape and whatnot. These all look exactly the same between the two systems. I literally can't tell any difference at all. Same thing goes for the hairstyle. I looked at all the different hairstyles. There's no difference as far as the placement of hair, which I didn't really expect of that, but higher resolution or just any difference at all. They all look exactly the same between the two systems, so at least no major update is done for that. And then comes along the video sequence here, and I didn't really expect this to change either, since it's just simply a video plopped into the memory of the game itself or the cartridge here. And so the video looks identical on both systems. I really can't even tell there's a change between the two sides here. Perhaps the Switch 1 is barely darker, but I really can't say that for sure. It could just simply be the way the monitor is looking as I'm recording this footage here. But I really do feel like the video is pretty much identical. And then comes along the cutscene that is rendered with the graphics from the game itself or the game engine. And if you're going to have a little bit of as far as slowdown or graphical difference, you'd begin to see it here. And as far as I can tell, these look exactly the same as well. I did make sure the brightness was exactly the same between the two features. You can adjust that in the menu. And speaking of the menu, there's no option inside the menu to adjust it for performance or graphics. So there's nothing inside the game that's going to make it run a little bit better with new settings for the Switch 2. Any settings that are in the first game or on the Switch 1 are the exact same settings for the Switch 2 as well. But there's a pre-rendered cutscene here. It looks pretty much identical, even a little mouse running across the screen. I can't tell any difference at all. And now we come to the gameplay, which is really the most important part when you're comparing these two systems. And they're both still locked at 30 frames per second, so you can't get any higher frame rate on the new system here. As far as resolution goes, it looks like exact same resolution. I can't tell any difference on that. Even as far as the lighting effects, both of them still look pretty darn great. I was actually impressed with how good the Switch 1 looked. I didn't remember it looking quite this good when I was going through it many years ago, but the lighting effect on the little walls here, the little candlelight, all it looks fantastic on the Switch 1, and obviously it maintained itself on the Switch 2, but I don't feel like it's any better on the Switch 2. I feel like it's pretty much, like I said earlier, it's identical in that aspect. I didn't see any dropped frames when I was playing on the Switch 2, but at the same time, I didn't see any dropped frames in this portion when I was playing on the Switch 1 either. Perhaps you can look at the footage, you can tell a little bit better than I can, but I couldn't tell any difference as far as dropped frame rate, at least from my playing here. But to go ahead and try to test it out a little bit further, we journey off into the Asylum Demon fight, and from the initial drop down through all the swings and the dodges and the unsuccessful dodges sometimes, taking the Asylum Demon out, I personally do not notice any single drop frame rate throughout this entire fight, and I know it's still early in the game, and I'm going to attach some footage at the end as far as just simply raw footage of further levels in the game. You can sort of see if you think the frame rate maintains itself there. But from these initial first levels and these initial first bosses, frame rate looks great, resolution looks great, and I can't tell the difference in the two systems. Next up is the Firelink Shrine, and I just simply wanted to put some base footage here as far as showing the background, some of the details, a little bit of the shadowing and the lighting, and just once again, both of them look pretty fantastic on each of their respective systems, but I don't think there's a major difference between the two. You can let me know in the comments down below if you see it. I just simply don't see it here. But since I really wasn't noticing a lot between frame rate and resolution, I decided once again test out the loading time. And so I pretty much just went to a cliff here and pretty much timed exactly the same frame here for each of the two screens, had the character die at the same time, and then see how long it takes to load on each system. And there really wasn't as much of a load difference as I thought. The Switch 2 loaded 2 seconds faster than the Switch 1. which goes back to the start of the video when the actual game itself loaded 7 seconds faster. That probably had more to do with the actual Switch 2 system versus the actual software of the game itself. And so when you die in the game, it's not going to load significantly faster, only 2 seconds faster. And this is actually still fairly slow for a Souls game this old anyway. I don't have the exact time if you played on the PS5 or something like that, but I cannot imagine it being quite as long as it is here on the Switch 2. So overall, I personally can't tell a whole lot of difference here. I think the resolution is the same. The loading time is mostly negligible here. As far as frame rate goes, I couldn't tell anyway, but I'm going to put some footage right here of just simply some raw gameplay on the Switch 2, and you can sort of evaluate the frame rate yourself as far as like taking out enemies later on in the game. And so you can let me know if you find any differences in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out other videos listed up above, and go out there, find a great game to play. So have a great rest of the day.